Well, welcome to the Sports Carnival, broadcasting live from the Trauma Center studio. I am Dave. This is Matt from the recovery room, who is sitting in behind me, and hope you guys and gals are off to a great Monday here, wherever it is that you may be watching this, however it is that you may be consuming this. We're sure glad to have you a part of the program today. Matt, our green and gold insider, Joe Daguanno, is going to jump aboard with us at 8:30. We've got a lot of Packers stuff to uncover with Joe, including the latest on Aaron Rodgers and where this guy might be headed to play his football for the next, well, at least for the next season, maybe 2 seasons. We've got Wisconsin Badger basketball to talk about this morning, the subject of our poll question, guys and gals, on our Twitter app, as well as our Facebook page, is asking about your thoughts on the Badgers and whether or not they can actually make the March Madness big tournament now. Okay, the NCAA March Madness tournament, which I've been 100% assured that they could until they lose a game like they did yesterday to Michigan. Very, very, very upsetting if you're a Badger fan.
Yeah, that game was pretty rough yesterday for damn sure. I just want to say happy Monday to all our viewers and listeners out there. It's a balmy 70 degrees. You know, sun is shining. There's no clouds in the sky somewhere. Obviously not here today.
So. Absolutely. In Oranjestad, Aruba right now, it is about 78 degrees. There is no cloud coverage, and the chances of rain are at 6%. Not like I've already looked this morning, but I hear you, Matt. Somewhere, someplace, it's feeling very balmy today. Someplace.
Somebody's smiling. Guess we don't really have to worry about shoveling with all the snow coming down, but let's just look out for the ice, and hopefully this crap goes fast.
Yeah, I'm not excited about driving. I don't think I actually really have to drive anywhere in specific today. Probably not going to do so. As a matter of fact, I think that many schools, at least the outlying schools, have already been canceled due to what they would call glare ice. Matter of fact, if you're a DeSoto Pirate, well, you've got the day off today. I still get these text messages and emails, even though John's actually graduated from DeSoto. I still get these messages. And so I saw that this morning, like, oh, yep, DeSoto's canceled. So if that does happen to be you, congratulations. And perhaps you get to sit back with Matt and I, enjoy some of the fun here on the Sports Carnival. Last week,
extra weekend.
Yeah, exactly. Extra weekend. You know, use the day if you can productively, of course, like joining us for bingo tonight, 7:00 at the recovery room, which is going to be a lot of fun. We're getting a bigger and bigger crowd each and every week. But my point being, if you have nothing else to do but to sit here and listen or watch us for the next hour, you're in good shape because, as mentioned, we got a lot to cover this morning. Matt, we've got Milwaukee Bucks basketball, which we're going to be jumping into here this morning on the program. We've mentioned the Badgers men's basketball team. We'll talk about them, UWL, and what it is that they didn't do on Friday night. We'll get into that. Also, Jake Paul, Tommy Fury. Yes, we finally got a defeat for Jake Paul, a split decision. Tommy Fury closely gotten, it was a close fight from what I saw. Almost got knocked out, but we'll talk to you guys about that. And then we've got some big news. If you're an Aquinas Blue Gold fan, the Aquinas Blue Golds had a really, not good, but great showing at state this last weekend.
Yes, they truly did. Shout out to everybody at Aquinas, everybody that went there. They had 8 boys state qualifiers, the first ever female state qualifier, 7 state place winners, 5 state finalists, and 2 state champions. The state champions were Tate Flage, sorry if I'm saying that wrong for your brother, at 152 pounds, and David Malin at 170 pounds.
Okay, well, congratulations. Listen, the Aquinas Blue Golds putting together, a really, really good stretch of, well, I would say the last couple of years have just been dominant, right? We've got back-to-back football championships. Now you're looking at all the different talent that's emerging in these different areas. Boys and girls, congratulations.
On both sides of boys and ladies. So keep it going. It's just very proud of them, especially I know there are some naysayers out there, but it's great to see. It's also great for the city of La Crosse.
Yeah, whatever. It's crazy to me to talk about high school kids in any other way than positively. You boys and girls are doing a great job. Keep it up. But Dave, what about not going to their school in Ithaca? I don't fucking care. It's called school choice. That's just what happens here. If you parents want to bring it to Aquinas so they can afford it, good, have at it.
The world's changed a lot in the last couple of years, especially obviously with high school and then NIL and college. So it's just a different world than when you and I were.
It's school choice. If people want to go to a different school, what are we talking about here? What are we talking about?
So La Crosse is obviously still split on whether you can go to Logan or Central. We're not going to get into the whole school board. Congrats to my buddy Timmy Alberts. I don't know if you wanted to get that win, but you're still in the running. You made it through 9, brother. I love you. I'm going to vote for you again. Good luck on that. But yeah, I was a Aquinas kid myself, so you had basically two choices depending on where you lived, whether you went to Logan or Central, or then we could have gone to Aquinas. So things were a lot different for me back in the day. I'm not sure what was set up for you when you were a younger lad as it was. So
yeah, it wasn't like that for us. We didn't get school choice. That wasn't something that we actually got. But when it became a thing, look, all I'm going to say is this. Who cares where these kids go to school? Like, that's up to them and their parents. We can't knock these high school kids for any other. We can't knock them for that. I won't personally do it.
That goes back to the whole sensitivity thing. Does it really make a fucking difference in your life? Because you still have to put your pants on the following morning, just like everybody else. Yeah. So let's not worry about everybody else. Just worry about yourself a little bit more often.
Yeah, there you go. All right, boys and girls, if you're joining us this morning, as mentioned, Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch is where we get our comments to stream in for us here on the program. Welcome aboard. We've got Rob Dog, host of the Rob Dog Sports Brief, up and at it. Says, Dave, if the Eagles make the tournament, the NCAA tournament, you can't have Coach Dernbach on, because every time we've had Coach Kent Dernbach on the program, the Eagles lose, which I don't take lightly. I understand this is one of those things. I'm trying to be good with it. I don't want to see this team tank out. But he says, Dave, if the Eagles make the tournament, you can't have Coach Dernbach on. Rob Dog goes on to say, I think that this Bucks team would beat Jokic and the Nuggets without Giannis. Interesting. He also asks us if Aaron Rodgers can just go back to his cave. No. That's not something that will he's not going to go back into his cave. Yeah. That's a multi-part sort of a take here. First of all, the Eagles, this is something that we were fearing. Obviously, we were pulling for the Eagles Friday night over at Mitchell Hall to beat Whitewater, but we were fearing that they might succumb to the Whitewater Warhawks. Whitewater's a tall, deep team. They're athletic. And when I saw them the first time, I was taken aback. I saw 7'1" guy sitting on the bench.
Yeah.
That to me was like, oh, fuck.
Yeah.
This team for Whitewater is deep. The Eagles have put up a game fight. Not having Ethan Anderson at 100%, which Coach Dernbach talked to us about last week on the show, Matt, that definitely detracts from their ability to make the kinds of plays that they made early in the season. Again, the Eagles put up a game fight. They lose 72-68 in the semifinals of the WIAC tournament. We'll see. Do they get an at-large bid? I don't know. Propositions are about 50-50. And with that, I want to do this. I want to transition to our poll question real quick, Matt. Then we'll come back and we'll jump into what we saw over the weekend with Wisconsin and with the Milwaukee Bucks. But I want to put this out there for the audience members. We're talking, Wisconsin basketball here. So we know the Eagles lost. Do they make the tournament? That's a lot different proposition in NCAA Division III. What about the Wisconsin Badgers? Matty Ice had been telling me for weeks the Badgers were not going to make the March Madness tournament. I was pushing back and saying they will. Well, yesterday, I should say, I was going to say last night, but yesterday they lose in overtime to Michigan. That was a tough and a crushing loss. So take this morning's poll question if you're a member of our Facebook group page or on the Twitter feed at the Sports Carney, and let us know your thoughts. Do you think Wisconsin can actually make it into the March Madness tournament now that they've lost to Michigan? Stay tuned. We're back in about a minute. What can I say? The Recovery Room on 7th and Mississippi Street is not only my favorite bar in all of downtown La Crosse, Wisconsin, it's my favorite restaurant in all of downtown La Crosse, Wisconsin. Breakfast served 8 to noon, Saturday and Sundays, daily specials, incredible cocktails, and the best damn wait staff in the entire city. My buddy Matt knows how to treat you right, and that's why when you go to the Recovery Room on 7th and Mississippi, you're always going to have a great time and a great meal with a great cocktail. So if you haven't been in a while, or perhaps you're just a regular and you want to stop in again, make it a thing. I'm there every single week. How about you?
Do you have a wedding, anniversary party, or bat mitzvah coming up in your life? Then you need Hey Duda DJ services featuring Neil Duda, the Midwest Eminem.
No doubt about it, I'm been hammered, and that's every day. Brand so cloudy, dog.
Dropping sick beats while you enjoy your treats. No party is too big or too small. Quinceañeras, graduations, ice cream socials, or cockhold parties. Whatever the celebration, Hey Duda is rocking the foundation.
Here we go again, back with all our friends. Here comes the pain.
Neil Duda.
And welcome back, Sports Carnival, broadcasting live from the Trauma Center studios. Just bouncing right on here. It's a wet Monday in the state of Wisconsin. Hopefully, wherever it is that you are. Matt was mentioning that somewhere it's sunny and 70 degrees, that you get some of that fine weather. If not, hey, just hang out with us for at least the next hour. And if you're already driving, be sure to be careful. You can always listen to the Sports Carnival later on in the afternoon. Actually, at about 9:30 in the morning is when we make this available across your podcast platforms. Wherever it is that you get podcasts, you can subscribe, you can download, you can listen to the Sports Carney. So Spotify, Google Play, Apple iTunes, all the good spots. Pandora, you can find the Sports Carnival. Joining us at 8:30 this morning, Maddie, is going to be our good buddy, Green and Gold insider Joe Daguanno. We'll get from Joe his thoughts on Aaron Rodgers, what exactly is transpiring, if anything, between he and the Packers. Joe's also, we've called him this before, the Mad Dog of Madison. So we want to get Joe's thoughts as well on the Wisconsin Badgers, who, again, had a really big opportunity this weekend to beat Michigan and establish themselves, I thought, and really their resume as a true tournament team. The Badgers have had 6 quad one wins already this season, which is really good. It's actually tied for 14th most in the country. But the Badgers have now had 8 quad one losses, which is starting to stack up against their quality wins in a way that which, I can't believe I'm actually going to say this, might determine the fate of their NCAA tournament hopes. I did not think under any auspices that Wisconsin would miss the tournament, especially after how well they played early this season. Even losing to teams like Kansas, I thought were good losses because of how good Kansas is. The victory against Marquette looks better and better as Marquette continues to get better and better. But Matt, when we see this kind of game from Wisconsin on Sunday and they lose in overtime like they do, again, Hunter Dickinson made an incredible 3-point shot to send it into OT, but Wisconsin down the stretch just really couldn't figure out how to close out. I watched this game and I really did, for the first time this year, thought they're not going to make the tournament possibly. That's something that I'd actually begun to think about for the first time. Where are you with this Badger team right now? Because again, this is a perennial tournament team, but it seems like when they lose big spots in big TV games like this especially, this can have a lot of effect on the actual March Madness voters, the ones that put together the final brackets.
Well, I guess it comes out to this thing, and I brought it up a few times. The Badgers started out hot again yesterday in the first half, so it was great to see. It all comes down to what happens at the end of the game. I've been throwing Greg Gard under the bus, and I will continue to do so because it's all what happens at the end of the game. They're up 3 points with 2.1 seconds left in the game. Obviously, the 3-point goes up, but to me, they're getting outcoached at the end of the games. They're starting out great, but this isn't a Badger team. It's like watching the Packers, sorry to go down that road, bringing up Joe. If they make the playoffs, which would be the play or the tournament, I don't think they're going to go anywhere anyways. So it's just very, very painful to watch. And watching them lose against Michigan yesterday, I never thought they were going to get in a month ago. And I'm sorry, brother. I just still don't think they're going to get in.
Well, it seems like right now that's the consensus, because looking at our Facebook group page, we've got 91% of voters this morning when asked the question, after the Badgers lost to Michigan, will they still make the tournament? 91% are saying no. When we go over to our Twitter account at The Sports Carney, it's even more to the no. 100% of the voters so far today say the Badgers aren't going to be a tournament team. And look, at 16-12, the record that the Wisconsin Badgers are at right now, without winning the Big Ten tournament, which is not very likely. It's possible, of course, but not very likely. Without them winning the Big Ten tournament, yeah, they might start.
There's no way in hell
to begin to really capitulate to the prospects that they don't make the tournament, which
I guess I agree with you. My point to where I'm going with this, man, and you just already brought up Marquette coming out of the Big East. If there's anybody from the state of Wisconsin that really enjoys basketball from the state of Wisconsin, just for the next month or so, you might, if you can, switch your allegiances from Madison to Milwaukee. That might be your best bet to just enjoy some basketball, because I just don't think the Badgers are going to be enjoyable to watch. They're painful to watch, and Greg Gard is painful to watch as a coach.
Well, it's tough because, you have this system with the Wisconsin Badgers, which has been in place since Bo Ryan was really the coach, the swing. And that became Wisconsin basketball. And I get it, because it's not the most exciting, but at the same time, it's been really successful. And this is where I was going back to possibly a historic Wisconsin Badger take, in that I feel like this team each and every year is it's a tournament team because they've been one. And they've been able to get the best of teams in the first, second round. And heck, it wasn't even that long ago that they made a run to the national championship. But you're right, at this point, the Wisconsin Badgers, in comparison to teams like Marquette and Michigan we saw yesterday, the athleticism, Matt, the ability for teams like Michigan, like basically everybody, to get up and down the court on the Badgers. If there's not a seminal star like there was with Johnny Davis,
that's where I was going. They need, they're playing as a team. They need a seminal star just to help them lead that way. Or they have a lot of guys. I mean, they have an older roster. I think for the most part, they have a couple seniors on there. I'm sorry, I'm forgetting all the names right now, but that's the point. They just don't have that one true talent to shut down the game that they need,
or get a bucket when you absolutely need a bucket to be had.
Yep.
That's what Johnny was able to do.
Yep, 100%.
Well, the Eagles, and this is another Wisconsin take here. The Eagles lose on Friday 72-68, putting in peril their chances to make the WIAC tournament. The Badgers losing like they did to Michigan puts in peril, at least we think, their chances to make the postseason there. And again, I'd encourage you to take this morning's poll question.
I was going to throw it out there just for shits and giggles and fun. The Badgers did win a Big Ten title though yesterday.
This
past weekend.
Do tell.
Indoor track. So,
Okay.
I guess something's, at least if it's indoor track, that means that there's going to be the summertime coming, and you're going to be basketball means the summer's coming. I guess there's something to look forward to instead of this weather outside. So
yeah, okay, fine.
Something's going for the Badgers.
That's fair. All right, we've got an indoor track tournament. I did see that the UW women did get a split in their first 2 games here to open up the season. Unbelievable that softball is already going on right now, but I did see that. Look, it's not just because it's raining outside doesn't mean it has to rain on our parade. We've still got some great stuff going on in Wisconsin, and the Badgers aren't out of this yet. I do think that with that loss to Michigan, if the Badgers don't beat Purdue, don't beat Minnesota, don't make a really good run in the Big Ten tournament, I do think the chances now of them making the postseason, at least the NCAA tournament, are probably decreasing. Does that give them a spot in the NIT if they take it? Possibly.
Do you really think they can beat Purdue?
No.
Okay.
But Purdue can lose to anybody because we've seen that this year. And this is the thing about college basketball nowadays. There isn't a team like there would have been 25 years ago that's going to be the slobber knocker each and every week. Alabama's getting close.
Well, yeah, we haven't even talked about Alabama. That's a shit show down there with all the crap going on there. And the kid with getting pat down and all this other. It's Alabama's joke. They shouldn't even they have a lot of athletes. It's a bad situation. That's just getting uglier and uglier as it is. So the fact that we even mentioned bringing up how this kid can drop off a gun, gal gets shot and the kid's still playing, I don't understand that.
Well, that's going to go into a lot of places that I don't even know what to say about that because again, I don't know enough about that situation. I'm just telling you from a basketball perspective, there's not one of those clear-cut number 1 teams. Yeah. Alabama might be about as good as it gets this year, but it's hard to tell. Transitioning here, staying with basketball, but transitioning. We're talking Badgers, subject to this morning's poll question. I also mentioned to you guys and gals, we're going to spend some time talking about the Bucks here in a moment because the Bucks had a huge weekend and have now run their winning streak up to 14 consecutive games, beating Miami on Friday and yesterday coming up with a clutch win against the Phoenix Suns, 104-101. Jason P1 Breacher is checking in this morning and is mentioning something that we've kind of known was going on in the background, but it wasn't really made official, at least from what we can tell until earlier today, this morning. Jimmy Haslam, the owner of the Cleveland Browns, and also somebody who has been indicted for numerous different kinds of financial crimes, is set to purchase Mark Lazzary's stake in the Milwaukee Bucks. Mark Lazzary is the primary owner in the Milwaukee Bucks. Jason P1 Breacher says that Lazzary has this agreement to sell the Bucks to Jimmy Haslam, and then he texted me that he feels like Jimmy Haslam, is going to infiltrate this Bucks team with the culture of losing. Now, I don't know if I think that's actually a true take or if he's just afraid of what that means, but it is interesting because Jimmy Haslam, as the owner of the Cleveland Browns, has really nothing to write home about, right? Signing Deshaun Watson is about his biggest claim to fame. Maybe hiring Kevin Stefanski. Maybe those are the things that Jimmy Haslam should be best known for. It doesn't inspire me with overt confidence, but it is one of the things with ownership groups that I think you can diminish quite a bit. As long as you have a good general manager and the owner doesn't get in the fucking way of the people that do their job, there really shouldn't be anything to see here.
For as much as Jimmy Haslam is, I think, might be a horrible human being for a lot of things that he might have done in the past, he's no Dan Snyder. And the one thing
that's fair.
And the one thing you can say is that he does seem to care about winning, because even though Deshaun Watson is also another despicable human being for a couple of things, he went out and signed this dude to try and make the Cleveland Browns better. I'm not going to.
True.
For a person that likes to root for underdogs, you won't be seeing me root for the Browns anytime soon. It is what it is, just because of what Jimmy Haslam did there. I just don't think it's a great idea. Just hopefully he invests, because he has a shit ton of money. So that's all that, like you said, bring up ownership. As long as he puts money in and stays the hell out of the way, just let the managers manage and just send me the money.
Yeah, that's really all that you need the owner to do, is just to get out of the way. You know, in the NBA, it's not like you can do much to finance the team itself. You can't buy a team like in baseball, which would be awesome if Mark or Jimmy Haslam wants to maybe buy some portion of the Brewers. Give these guys another, I don't know, $500 million. But in the NBA, it's largely you're managing a property that's just going to keep getting more and more valuable. Don't step on your own dick. Get out of your own way. Let the people that you know that do this thing, the GMs, the coaches, let them do their job, and it should be all good. I want to go back to YouTube here. Boomstick, Eric from La Crescent's checking in, Maddie. Says, top of the morning, fellas. Top of the morning, dude. Dicey drive into Winona this morning. Yeah, I bet. It's raining, and that's going to create a lot of issues. The snow was not yet melted. Says, dicey drive into Winona. Bucks, baby. 14 straight. Drew is the man. And, Matt, I've got to say, I agree 100% with Eric from La Crescent. Boomstick. Drew Holiday is the man. And we see this graphic if you're watching this right now on YouTube, on Facebook, on Twitch, on Twitter, on LinkedIn. We see this graphic right now. The Bucks run their winning streak to 14 games after wins over the Heat and Suns on the weekend. Now, next up for Milwaukee is going to be tomorrow night. They'll be playing the Nets in Brooklyn. The Nets, who have been competitive since the All-Star break, but haven't actually won a game, not a surprise, will be the next up for Milwaukee to try to take this streak to 15, which the 14-game winning streak is already the longest winning streak in the NBA this season. But back to Eric from LaCrescence's point about Drew Holiday. Drew Holiday is an all-star this year. For the second time in his career, he was one in 2013 with Philadelphia, or 2016 maybe it was, and not again until right now, which was the longest streak between all-star games in like the history of the game. He had 33 more points yesterday. Brook Lopez made a tie-breaking layup with less than 25 seconds left. The Bucks narrowly edged out Phoenix, the Suns, as we mentioned, 104-101. Drew Holiday's defense, Matt, his shooting acumen,
relentless defense,
and his leadership. Dude, this guy is a leader. I'm okay with the Bucks giving Giannis a couple of days off. He sat with a quad injury because he banged up his knee even after he played with that sore wrist on Friday night. Okay, so he sits out with a quad injury. Drew and company step up. The Phoenix Suns were gunning for Milwaukee. No Kevin Durant, but Devin Booker, Chris Paul. These guys were gunning for Milwaukee. And Drew Holiday, once again, was exactly what the doctor ordered. He keeps this team afloat, and they win the game, edging them out, as mentioned, 104-101. Is there anything short of spectacular that we can say about Drew Holiday and his play right now?
It's just, he's fun to watch. Like you said, I mean, he did 33, 5 assists, 33 points, 5 assists, 4 rebounds. Relentless against Devin Booker. You got Brook Lopez coming in with a double-double. All this while Giannis isn't playing. Obviously, Durant wasn't playing as well, but they're fun to watch. And Drew Holiday, as you said, is just an all-star. And with him and Middleton and Lopez playing yesterday, and they were, I'm sorry, I'm looking this right now. They outscored them. What was it down the stretch? I think it was like 17-3 or something like that to come down. So even they finished them off at the end of the game too. So not only were they playing great defense, but they shut them down at the end of the game too.
Yeah, and that's the most important thing. And look, while we obviously spend a lot more time talking about the Bucks than we do any other team, there were a lot of great performances in the NBA this weekend. Damian Lillard scored 71 points.
Less than 40 minutes.
Well, I mean, there's only 48 minutes in a game.
I mean, still.
Okay, so 71 points, that's a fuck ton, right? Yeah. And there's only been a handful of players that have ever done that. Wilt Chamberlain, Kobe Bryant, Devin Booker. No, it was a great performance. So we talk a lot of Bucks. There were great performances. Jokic for Denver had 40 points in another triple-double effort as the Nuggets get a victory over the Clippers. So a lot of good performances.
Lakers came back from
27-point deficit
against Kyrie. Where are you?
Well, Kyrie and Luka, by the way, both these kids, great players, but together I'm not so sure.
Yep.
Point being, Drew Holiday right now, Matt, amongst all of these guys, even though that, Damian Lillard scoring 71 points, Nikola Jokic is ripping off these triple doubles. Right now, Drew Holiday is playing as good as anybody in the league. And watching this guy on a game in, game out basis like we do for the program and here in the state of Wisconsin, it gives me more and more appreciation of Drew Holiday and his abilities on a game in, game out basis too, because this kid is gritty. He's tough. He's smart, like you've mentioned, relentless on defense. And that's one of the underlooked or overlooked things about Drew Holiday is how good this guy is on defense. We're talking a multi-time first-team All-NBA defender. And when you're missing a guy like Giannis, who kind of going back to that Jokic take on why I don't think, even though he puts up great numbers, is really the MVP. When you look at a guy like Giannis and you see that he's out, you think the defense is going to take potentially a grave downgrade. That didn't happen with Milwaukee. They were able to bottle up Phoenix. Brook Lopez, we see his name on the screen as well. Not only did he make that game tie-breaking layup, he also had 13 big rebounds, had a number of blocked shots, was able to pass the ball effectively, and is scoring in such a way that we hadn't seen Brook Lopez really do since he was in Brooklyn, or New Jersey, I should say, with the Nets back in the day. So this team is really coming together. Also, big shout out to the Bucks for getting Jay Crowder, dude, because Jay Crowder played his second game with the Bucks, played his first game on Friday, played his second game yesterday. He's hitting timely threes, right? He's in the corner hitting timely threes. The guy is nothing if he's not clutch. And I think that the fans in Milwaukee, right? He was a Marquette grad, or at least a Marquette player.
Yep.
The fans in Milwaukee, you can tell, are super excited to have Jay Crowder back in the fold. I mean, like, super excited.
Well, it's not only just his presence on the court, it's his presence inside the locker room as well. And you can just see him. He's professional. He's been around. Obviously, Milwaukee loves having him back in there. It was a great pickup. We'll see how it goes forward. They're fun to watch. The thing I can go with the Bucks is obviously there's been some talk about people wanting to take games off, days off, and everything else. This is the best time for the NBA for me right now. There's 82 games in a season. Giannis came out and said it's the best time to 82 games is perfect. We shouldn't have to shorten the season just so players aren't playing as much. We're past the NBA All-Star game. If you haven't been watching the previous, 60 some games in the NBA, now's the time to watch.
That's it, man. That's it. And I know that a lot of people do that very same thing. Football season, it dominates us all. It dominates this program. It dominates all of sports. Then we start to say, okay, basketball, college basketball, pro basketball, we'll give you a look. Hey, if you're not a basketball fan, then maybe we're just going to let this part of the year wash over you, and we'll just talk XFL, which, by the way, we will mention the XFL had week 2. They kicked off Thursday, right? Seattle loses by a field goal to St. Louis, the Battlehawks. The Vegas Vipers got annihilated by the DC Defenders, I believe it was, and the Houston Roughnecks, coached by, that is...
Roughnecks.
The Houston Roughnecks are coached by...
Wade Phillips.
Wade Phillips. That's right. Wade Phillips.
Yep.
They got another victory. So the XFL in its second week continues to do what it needs to do to satisfy those that, Matt, are not basketball fans, right? So if you're absolutely anti-NBA, anti-college basketball, at least now you do have the XFL to sort of give you some of that space in between NFL football and the end of the Super Bowl and the beginning of the training camp or whatever that is. And the USFL will kick off in April. So if you're decidedly not a basketball fan, there are some other options. But you're right. If you're tangentially involved in any way, shape, or form with basketball, the game of basketball, right now is a really great time to be a fan because we are getting really close to the tournaments, the conference tournaments and men's college hoops, and the NBA with 20 games left. This starts to get fast and furious. So Bucks winning 14 in a row, continuing that streak hopefully tomorrow against Brooklyn. The Lakers coming back. And I talked about this on ESPN 105.5 last Thursday with John Papadopoulos. Watch out for the Celtics, the Lakers, and the Sixers when it comes to betting angles over the last couple of weeks of the season. Those 3 teams particularly are going to be jockeying for position. The Celtics want to stay in number 1. We'll look for them to try to cover spreads and really bury teams early. The Lakers are coming. They're coming for the Western Conference. Now, I don't know if they can do anything as far out as they've been. And then you've got the Philadelphia 76ers, another team that I think are a little overlooked and underrated right now. As good as Joel Embiid is, and as much as I hate to say this, as good as James Harden is, they do get overlooked a bit. So those 3 teams in particular, I like from betting perspectives. But, the XFL is giving folks, at least those that don't like any kind of basketball, something to watch. I see we've got a Facebook user checking in with us saying XFL has the best celebrations. That's cool. I haven't, seen enough of these. That's Joe Glass.
Joey Blatz.
Joey Blatz. Joey, I haven't seen enough to check out all the celebrations, but I'll give it to you. The XFL at least allows that to be a little more free-flowing than the NFL did.
Did you see your hometown teams getting shit on like no other? Vegas Vipers.
For losing?
No. So I'm hoping you're still going to show me this baseball field when we get out there, but I guess it's the worst turf in the XFL.
They're playing at Cashman Field.
It's Cashman Field. They're playing on,
right.
It's the sound speakers only work on one side of this stadium because it's a baseball field. The turf's coming up and everything else. So I know it's We'll check it out when we get out there.
Not okay. Cashman Field, by the way, downtown Las Vegas, real near where I used to live, has been a shithole for years.
I didn't realize that that's the same field in '96 that the A's played in when Oakland was just a shit show with all the feces and stuff in the dugout. I didn't realize that the A's played in that stadium as well.
Yeah, it's not a great place. Cashman Field, that is owned by the city of Las Vegas for many years. I'm pretty sure it's still owned by the city now, and it's just gone into one of those areas of disrepair. It's hard to see if it ever comes back. John Clifford's checking in. John is checking in from Colorado this morning on YouTube, says, what up, Lakers? Oh, boy. Yeah, I know. I'm not saying the Lakers are going to win anything. I'm not trying to go on some Laker defense rant. All I'm saying is from a betting perspective, the Lakers have a lot to play for. LeBron has got a lot riding on this season. I mean, to miss the postseason 2 consecutive years, if you're LeBron James, would be a big knock against your entire legacy. So all I'm saying, John, is from a betting perspective, I think that you can take a look at the Lakers and possibly use them as a team to either fade or to bet on. All right, we're going to step aside for about 60 complete seconds. When we come back, we're going to talk to our Green and Gold insider, the Mad Dog of Madison himself, Joe Daguanno. What's the latest with Aaron Rodgers and this Packers team? Have we heard anything else since last week? And we've also got to ask Joe this. The Wisconsin Badgers, they lose to Michigan. Are they realistically not going to make the NCAA March Madness tournament now? It's looking more and more like they might not. Stick around.
Now more than ever, if you're looking to buy or sell your first home or perhaps an investment property, you need a full-time dedicated real estate agent who is up to date on all the latest trends and analysis and is ready to give you the kind of service that you deserve. That's why the official real estate agent and the official real estate partner of the Sports Carnival is Kyle Cable of One Trust Real Estate. Whether you're looking to buy or sell your first home or perhaps you are a seasoned investor, call the official real estate agent partner of the Sports Carnival, Kyle Cable of One Trust Real Estate.
And welcome back, Sports Carnival, broadcasting live from the Trauma Center studio. Keeps on rolling. You know, Matt, you were just asking me off air if there was any word on P12 Foreman. I saw some pictures of his on Facebook over the weekend, and I did get a chance to go over and visit him and his wife, Ashley, on Friday. Seems like he's doing okay. It seems like he's doing okay. Might still be in the hospital. Not sure if he made it home over the weekend because he didn't text me, but he felt like he was doing okay. He was in good spirits, at least. So we've got that.
Well, and I saw that he was having a little problem with some of the security. I'm not going to name. I don't know if you just brought up the hospital. Sorry, I was working on something else. But I guess he was walking around the hospital floors just trying to get out of his room, and everybody thought he was just a guy checking in as a guest, not just, no, he just can't stay in his bed anymore. I'd get up and walk around too if I could.
Well, Foreman definitely looks like, and I've said this to him before, so this isn't like breaking news. He looks like sometimes he's a homeless man just wandering about.
And plus he's wearing a mask in a hospital. So probably, the look probably just kept going.
One time, Foreman was hanging with me, and Joe, he had a cup in his hand and he was just drinking Mountain Dew. One guy just walks by and throws quarters into it, and I'm like, no, don't. He's not homeless. He's just sitting around. He looks like a vagabond, but I promise you, this guy's got gainful employment, and his wife makes money too, so you don't need to give him the coins. We got him a new Mountain Dew, but it was a confusing thing. We're glad he's feeling better, but I give the folks over at Gunderson a big pass on this one. Not their fault.
Yeah, hopefully not. Hopefully he doesn't go to jail after he gets out of the hospital.
Yeah, that's a big hope. Top of the morning to you, Mad Dog of Madison, International Male Model of the Year, 1996, runner-up in 1998, Joe Daguanno. How you doing, big guy? It's raining cats and dogs out here in western Wisconsin. What's it like where you're at?
Yeah, it is a winter rainy storm right now. So, and I feel bad because that Eau Claire area is getting it. This is completely looking at an ice storm up in that part of the state. But I'm in the Madison area right now. It is, it's kind of a shit show. But you know what? It's Wisconsin. It's late February, early March. What are you going to do?
How much?
We can bitch about it all we want to, but the bottom line is, if you don't like it, move. And I've been here a long time, and I kind of shake my head and do it is what it is.
It is what it is, baby. And I'm just hoping that if those people that are driving around listening to us and watching this morning, I'm just hopeful that they're safe because, again, the roads can get kind of dicey. But for the most part, I agree. What are you supposed to do? We can sit here and complain about the weather, but only so much of us are farmers, right? So there's only so much I can do about complaining and the weather. Let me start off, Joe, with Wisconsin Badger talk. We've got a good buddy of the program, Joe V, checking in this morning saying he's heading to Vegas this week. He's asking us, Badgers going to beat Purdue? I doubt it. I really doubt it. You never know because there's nobody in college basketball that's super dominant. But, Joe, the Wisconsin Badgers, I thought, took a big fall in the confidence poll anyways of those that would put them into the NCAA tournament yesterday with that loss to Michigan. I realized it was a tough loss in overtime. Hunter Dickinson bails out Michigan in regulation with a hero 3 from about 23, 24 feet. But what are your thoughts on this Badger team right now, Joe? Do they still have a shot to make the postseason? The NCAA March Madness postseason anyways. They may get into an NIT if they don't fall there. What are your thoughts on that and how they've been playing recently in comparison to what that would mean for their chances?
Yeah, they've got a shot. And they kept up the graphic yesterday that, they're still projected to be one of the last ones in. But I want to go specifically to that ball game because I've been kind of a Greg Gard I don't want to say apologist, but I think Gard is doing a good job. I don't think he did a great job with the transfer portal, but you look at this team and you say, look, you if you want Johnny Davis, you got to get Jordan Davis. It was a package deal, and Johnny Davis goes pro, and so you lose a big part of the team. But my dad was of course, I coach football. My dad was a basketball coach. My dad coached a little bit of everything, but his last coaching was in basketball. And I'm sorry, why you're not fouling up 3 in that situation. And then, Jordan Davis goes for the interception of the ball. I mean, so many mistakes in those last few precious seconds of that game. I got to tell you, the Heat's got to be on guard. And whether or not this team makes it into the NCAA tournament, they're going to be a one and done. They just don't have the talent right now at this point. And so if they make it, yay, hooray, you get to say the Badgers are in the tournament. If they don't make it, they deserve not to be in. And so it's just it was really just a poor end of game coaching by Greg Gard and his staff. And I think for the first time, you're really putting this squarely on Gard's shoulders as far as that loss goes. You can't put yourself in a situation where a three ball, a really uncontested three ball, because Davis goes for the interception, doesn't get it, and leaves Dickinson wide open. And so it's disappointing. And right now, I will say, in my opinion, based on where the university is from a football perspective, I think the pressure is squarely on Gard and also Tony Granato with that hockey program. And so, I think that I don't think Gard's going to get fired this year, but I think the pressure is really going to be on him for next year, regardless of what happens with this tournament. I put that on his shoulders. And again, my dad coached high school girls basketball. I helped him out a little bit, but the bottom line is you got to follow. When you're in that situation and you got to follow to give and you're up 3, you've got to put yourself in a position to follow. So squarely on Gard's shoulders. Really, it's interesting. Out of the 2 games yesterday, I was more. I wanted the Bucks to win more than I wanted the Badgers to win, because I think at this point, you're 20 games left in the regular season for the Bucks. You got to make that push. You got to get Middleton 100% healthy. So it is what it is at this point for Badger basketball. They're just not a good basketball team. End of story.
Well, and Joe, I guess David brought up, Coach Bo Ryan earlier, and we've talked about the Badger football as well. And obviously they've changed their complete desire from when they were under Alvarez. They're going for a different setup, a different offensive scheme, etc. You brought up the hockey team, Granato. Do you ever see the Badgers getting away from the Bo Ryan and going more to a run and gun, kind of what the Badger football team is doing?
Gard is going to be the last of the tree, of the Bo Ryan tree, so to speak. And so they won't go from it as long as Gard is there. But what they're going to go away from is expectations of a middling program of, hey, just making it to March Madness is good enough for us. I mean, we all criticized, as Badger fans, we all criticized Duke during that run back in 2015 when they beat the Badgers in the national championship. We all said, well, they're a one and done program and they just recruit these guys, and Wisconsin's not that type of program. Well, they're going to have to be, and you're going to have to, if you want to compete in today's NIL college type of a situation, you're going to have to go out and get these types of players if you want to compete for a national championship. The expectation with Luke Fickell and the Badger program is that now they're going to be competitive at that level where they could compete one day for a national championship. I think Wisconsin basketball is going to have to play the same game. And we've talked about this with Paul Christ. Paul Christ was a great coach in yesterday's college football. Greg Gard, a great coach in yesterday's college basketball. I will argue this, though. I think Bo Ryan, with his personality and who he was, I think he could have played and coached. And when I say play, I mean play the game as an NIL coach right now. I think Bo Ryan was more equipped or is more equipped to play that game than Greg Gard is. Bo Ryan at his heart was a politician. I've got a chance to meet Bo a few times, and Bo was a showman. I mean, he could hold a crowd like no other. He was quick-witted. He was excellent at playing the game behind the scenes. Matter of fact, we all know he might have played the game a little bit too well with Tarek Salah's ex-wife, but it is what it is at this point. But, Bo was that guy, and he could hold the room. I think Greg Gard, he's just not that guy. He's more Paul Christ than Bo Ryan, actually. Bo Ryan is more closely in tune with Barry Alvarez. And when you say we're going away from Alvarez was a showman. Alvarez, I called him the Donna Madison. I mean, Alvarez had this town by the balls and still does to a certain extent. And so I think Bo Ryan would have been better today than Greg Gard is. And I think Greg Gard, I think he's got one more year after this, and then it's really going to take a hard look at that program. Tony Granato could be gone after this year, and it wouldn't surprise me one bit.
You know, I think that you're making, as Javon has mentioned here on our YouTube page this morning, Joe, I think you're making some outstanding points, and I do largely agree that both Barry Alvarez and Bo Ryan would be better equipped to deal with today's sort of NIL transfer portal than perhaps their proteges. You know, Paul Christ, who's no longer with the team, and now, of course, you've got Greg Gard. I look at this Badger team as a historically in the mix sort of a squad, right? That's one of the reasons why, fellas, I've been so reticent to say that they wouldn't make the NCAA March Madness tournament.
My friend, optimistic.
Well, it goes into history. There's a lot of history that goes into this. It's hard for teams like North Carolina, for Wisconsin, to not make the March Madness tournament. Like, something has to really happen in the minds of voters, because again, this is still a voted upon thing. Something really has to happen in the mind of voters to dissuade them from placing those teams, even if it's a low seed, in the tournament. We'll see. There's still some work to be done. And listen, if Wisconsin makes a run, the Big Ten tournament's wide open. If they win the tournament, they're in. So there's definitely a pathway forward. At this point, though, the opportunities are becoming more and more narrow. And just taking a look here at our Twitter feed, guys, at the Sports Carney, 100% of voters this morning, when answering the poll question, say no, the Badgers will not make March Madness's NCAA tournament. 93% on our Facebook group page say the same thing. They won't make that. Let's change gears here, Joe, and talk about the Green Bay Packers. You're a Green and Gold insider. You're in Madison right now, so we wanted to get your take on the Badgers too. What are you hearing, if anything, different from last week when we had John with respect to Aaron Rodgers, and what is coming out of this whole darkness retreat? There was supposed to be a meeting set up between Rodgers, Brian Gutekunst, and the coaching staff, from what we understand. That hasn't yet taken place from what we understand, but that was something that was supposed to happen. What do we know different, if anything, from last week?
Well, you know, as far as Rodgers goes, he lasted 2 days out of the 4 in the darkness, and so he got out of there. And again, you know, I've learned more, and I think ESPN and some other outlets have done a nice job of studying into what this darkness retreat was all about. We saw footage of the actual room he was in, and this place apparently is booked through most of this year now, as far as. So, you know, again, I think more education was needed on this whole darkness retreat. But the interesting thing is the moves the Green Bay Packers are making right now from a cap standpoint. And you go, obviously, Aaron Jones, he did the restructure from $20.1 million to $8.2 million. But then we got Jair down, cap number $20.2 million, down to $9.4 million. Preston Smith, $13 million to $6 million. Kenny Clark next on the docket. His cap number is $23.9. Here's the interesting thing. Reports are coming out that Green Bay is looking to restructure David Bakhtiari's contract, which is $28 million of a cap. If they're looking to restructure Bakhtiari, I think there's a domino effect. If we hear something, and I predicted we would hear some about Rodgers tomorrow. I thought it would be the Tuesday after the darkness retreat with Pat McAfee tomorrow that we might hear something. So I still don't think it's going to be too much further. But if we don't hear anything tomorrow from Rodgers, but we do hear that Bakhtiari is restructuring, there might be a domino effect there, boys, that says, all right, if Bakhtiari is back, and obviously he's one of Rodgers' boys. Now, don't get me wrong. If you're Jordan Love or Aaron Rodgers, you can use an all-pro left tackle. So I don't want to draw the causation directly from a Bakhtiari restructure to Rodgers coming back. But I think it does say something that if Bakhtiari gets his contract restructured, obviously he's not going to be cut. You don't restructure a guy and then cut him. You're going to restructure him to keep him. And if Green Bay makes that move, the needle kind of starts tilting just a little back forward over to Rodgers returning to Green Bay. And so, you know, we've got a couple of weeks now before free agency hits. March 13th, I believe, starts the quote-unquote legal tampering, which is just blows my mind. It just, why don't you just have legal tampering all off season?
No.
Because it happens anyway. So it's the stupidest thing I've heard of, but is what it is. March 15th starts the new year. And so Green Bay right now with Aaron Rodgers' contract on the books, if they get the Bakhtiari deal done and Kenny Clark, they're going to be about $30 million under the cap. If Rodgers is traded, here's the interesting thing. They lose $10 million of cap space. And so if they do this and trade Rodgers, they actually go backwards now with cap space. They'd be down to about $20 million in cap space. So, interesting things happening. Green Bay, $22 million over the cap a couple of weeks ago, $6 million right now under the cap, with still that Kenny Clark and a David Bakhtiari restructure looking to happen. So, like I said, hearing that the Packers are looking to renegotiate Bakhtiari's deal, the meter right now, if you see one of these meters peaking and going back and forth, it's kind of going back to Rodgers right now as far as that goes. Now, do I still think there's a real chance he's traded? Absolutely, Dave. You and I talked about it the first time I've felt this way, because in the past I'm just like, it's not happening, it's not happening, it's not happening. But if Bakhtiari, if we don't hear anything tomorrow, Bakhtiari restructures this week, like I said, don't be surprised if all of a sudden that meter starts leaning back towards Rodgers coming back.
Well, and fellas, I think that this goes, at least for a lot of Packer fans, without saying, if Rodgers truly wants to be remembered as the greatest Packer quarterback of all time, if he really thinks that his last great legacy building block is to win a Super Bowl championship, there aren't going to be better spots for him than the Green Bay Packers right now. There's just not. Whatever team has to give up the go to get him is going to be significantly lacking. I don't care if that's New York with awesome rookies on both the offensive and the defensive side, or Las Vegas, who right now, guys, is minus 200 to actually land Rodgers. I don't think he has a better, clearer shot to win a Super Bowl than with Green Bay. So we'll see what happens. I'll be curious about tomorrow's appearance if he does make one on the Pat McAfee show, which I feel like he will. We'll see what happens there. And again, the quarterback dominoes don't really start falling until Aaron Rodgers says what it is that he intends to do. That'll really change the landscape for the rest of the NFL. Joe, before we let you go, we're going to do
one last thing, DC.
Yeah.
One last thing. I do want to say this. I have heard this, though, that
yes,
if Aaron wants back in Green Bay wants a bigger commitment from him in an offseason capacity.
Agreed.
So, which is a dog kind of thing, but it does. If he's back in, Green Bay wants to say, all right, then you got to commit. And so I have heard that as a part of the puzzle.
Well, listen, I don't think that's an unfair request, because the guy's going to make 58 point some million dollars this year, upcoming. We need you to be all in with the offseason program. We can't have a repeat of last year. And I know the thumb injury and all that shit we're using as excuses, but those are excuses. And we know what they're like. Everybody's got one and they all stink. Now, before we can let you go, Matt's got something new that he wants to sort of unveil to our guests here on the program. We know each other well, Joe. There are people that maybe don't know you as well because they're just joining the Sports Carnival now. Matt, you had a couple of interesting questions for Joe. What is it that you've got for a Green and Gold Insider?
Well, what I got for you, Joe, and I guess we talk a lot of sports. We use a lot of oxygen. I'm just trying to, do a little more entertaining, maybe get me to know you a little bit more and go from there. So I have 5 random questions for you. There are no yes or there are no right or wrong answers. And hopefully none of these questions get you in any trouble with
I have no idea what this is. No idea.
So if you're ready, Joe, question number 1, are you more likely to bungee jump off a bridge or parachute out of an airplane?
Easy question. Parachute. 100%.
Okay. Your favorite summer leisure vehicle, is that a golf cart or a boat?
Boat.
Okay. This one, sorry, don't have to get too graphic. The worst place you had a sunburn. Do you remember the city? And without getting too graphic, what location of the body?
I would say ass cheeks.
Okay. On a beach, I'm guessing, sir?
Yeah, that would be a beach.
All right. This one's for Dave primarily because he's listening, but the question for you, Joe. Fireball, yes or no?
Say it again.
Fireball, a shot of fireball, yes or no?
Here's the thing. I got to quantify it real quick. So when I did my Packer pregame show up in Green Bay, live from Green Bay, we did a shot of fireball before every show.
Boy.
Now,
Okay.
Also, my wife and I, our first social date was in a bar in Eau Claire, used to be called Whiskey's, was short for Whiskey Dicks.
Yep.
My wife it burned down. My wife allegedly may have gone in and stolen a burnt up bottle of Fireball for me before they completely shut everything down. Allegedly, she might have done that. I might still have that bottle that's never been opened, but how cool is a burned up bottle of Fireball? So I would say Fireball, yes, but I won't do the little ones because the little ones, there's no whiskey in there. Don't
Right.
buy the little tiny bottles, the shot bottles, because there's absolutely zero whiskey. It's just malt liquor at that point. So yes, in certain situations. So I got to quantify it.
I got one more for you if it's all right, and hopefully you don't have to get too long into it if you don't want to, but we're bringing up the XFL, obviously our Packer insider. So I'm going back to the 1992 draft.
Oh,
Are you still sure that the Packers said Buckley and not Bucky? Troy Vincent?
You know what? And I'm reading, it's interesting. I'm reading the Packer Way by Ron Wolf again right now.
yeah.
Ron Wolf broke his own rule with that draft because he drafted a cornerback shorter than 6 foot. And he said he felt Terrell Buckley, what the team needed more of a playmaker, more of a guy that can make plays as far as splash plays, return for touchdown, interception, et cetera, et cetera. So I would say that Ron Wolf, if he had to do it all over again, if he was sitting right here, knowing what we all know about Troy Vincent or Terrell Buckley, and I was actually at Lambeau Field for that draft, I will tell you he would have done it differently because now again, Terrell Buckley, everyone talks about Favre in that game against Cincinnati, the comeback game with Kittrick Taylor. They're not even in that position if Terrell Buckley doesn't return a punt for a touchdown. He was. I mean, when you look at it and you look at what he wanted for that team at that point, I don't think it was a horrible pick, but absolutely the better pick would have been Troy Vincent. Now, again, another debate for another time might be A.J. Hawk or Vernon Davis. That might be another one that we would have had as a debate. But I think Ron Wolf admittedly probably made a mistake on that one. But I will say this. There probably is no Brett Favre magic with that comeback without a Terrell Buckley punt return touchdown.
God, that's a really good call. And Joe, I'll just say this. A.J. Hawk versus Vernon Davis. I've never heard Vernon Davis actually speak in public. He's already so much more interesting and gregarious and has such a better personality than A.J. Hawk. I've never heard this man speak in my life, but I know that he's more entertaining than A.J. Hawk, who is.
But A.J. Hawk, sorry that you're seeing my cat's butt right now, guys. But
that's a little asterisk right there. Yeah.
So the good thing about A.J. Hawk is Brady Quinn's sister is fucking hot. And so, A.J. Hawk, he outkicked his coverage on that one. But so I'll give it to him. I'll give it to him from that perspective. And he does have a Super Bowl ring, so I'll also give him that.
There you go. Vernon Davis might have helped the Packers with more. Hard to say that as well. In a vacuum, anything is possible. Joe, thanks for giving us some extra time today. It was great getting your answers on some of these questions. Like I said, we're just trying to get to know you a little better. Some people might not know you like I do, and that is going to help us.
You got a good look at my cat too. That most people don't. So it's like it's going to be the cat's ass from now on, and so
Dude, we all know that Uncle Dave's about that pussy. It's good. Joe, we'll talk to you next week, man.
Take care, Joe.
Preferred Insurance is the official auto, home, business, flood, and life insurance agency of the Sports Carnival, serving folks in La Crosse and surrounding areas with licenses in Wisconsin, Minnesota, and Iowa. As an independent insurance agency, Preferred Insurance is free to find the very best insurance for you, your family, or your business needs. Call my friends at Preferred Insurance today and set up a free consultation. Remember, working with an independent agency means Preferred Insurance works for you, with you, to find the best solutions at the best prices.
This is Tailgating Tales with Bert Kowalski, episode 22. There'll be no toilet wine before it's time. It was late September of 92. The Bengals are in town and managed to take out Packers starting QB, the Magic Man, Dan Majkowski. Enter stage left, and then fresh-faced Brett Favre. Who engineers a beautiful fourth-quarter comeback to beat Cincy 24-23. It began a 15-year bromance with the state of Wisconsin and cheeseheads worldwide. Meanwhile, I'm in the Lambeau Field parking lot, where I've enjoyed every home game since I was knee-high to a Milwaukee's best tall boy. This is where the tale takes a twist. Majkowski's out, the pack is in jeopardy, and I'm out of beer. Lucky for me, Lou Three Fingers Nelson, who did a stretch in Joliet, always had a fresh batch of toilet wine brewing in his mini-winnie. I was 6 cups in and barely coherent when Favre threw that TD to Kentrick Taylor for the win. God bless Favre, and God bless Three Fingers Toilet Wine.
Favre put it right on the line. A perfect pass, a perfect catch.
I thought it was so fitting to be able to come back into the program playing a little tailgating tales. Number 22, episode 22. There will be no toilet wine until there's time. Joe Daguanno, our green and gold insider, was going back to that particular game in 92. Brett Favre, of course, comes in for the Magic Man, Don Mikowski. Packers win a game. And like he just mentioned, though, wouldn't have been in that position if it weren't for a draft pick, maybe an ill-fated draft pick, getting a huge touchdown return for a score. Or a huge pick for a return score. Listen, good fun. And Chad, the producer, great job on Tailgating Tales. Love that stuff. I do want to shout out a couple of guys here, Maddie. We were talking to Joe Daguanno. You asked him, would he rather jump out of an airplane or would he rather bungee jump? Our buddy Johnny Wad, Stacks Family Farms, says he would parachute for sure. Does Johnny jump out of airplanes?
Yes, he's done. I know he's done it a few times. I believe he's past doing it tandem, so I think he can fly solo. I guess my question for you, Johnny, are you smoking one of those Stacks Family Farms as you're jumping out of the plane? Can you keep that fucker lit, or how's that go, man?
Yeah, that would
gummies.
That's got to be the thing. We go gummies.
Gummies.
And speaking of gummies, by the way, we have the Delta 9 THC gummies downstairs at the recovery room. We're open today at 4:00. Bingo at 7 tonight, Matt. But P12 Foreman, who's asking Johnny Wad right now what he needs to do to get one of those swanky Stacks Family Farm hats. P12 Foreman, when I went and visited him in the hospital on Friday, asked for some of those Delta 9 gummies. Boosh. Said, I know where to get them. Walked downstairs, picked up a 5-pack, took him to the hospital. They were fine with it.
Hopefully it helped him recover, and hopefully Foreman, we're all hoping you're getting out. I'm not sure if you're out yet, brother, but hopefully you're not going to be walking the halls very much longer of Gunderson.
Yeah, no doubt. And I think Gunderson's employees are probably hopeful for that too.
As well. Yes.
Ashley was great. His wife, she's like walking behind me and Foreman, and people are looking at Foreman and just, stunned silence, like their mouths are on the floor. And he's like, dude, what the fuck? I think I'm looking pretty good. And she's like, your ass is open. It's just hanging right out. And so he's like, this, I'll tie it up. It's fine. We've got Joey Blatz checking in with us this morning. Joey Blatz, one of the football coaches for the Aquinas Blue Golds, back-to-back champions, by the way. And he says Rodgers is staying in Green Bay. He won't go to be the second best quarterback in the division. The Jets in the AFC East, he says, are out. The Raiders, AFC West, are out. In the AFC West, he might actually be the fourth best quarterback, depending on if Russell Wilson has a return to form year with Sean Payton. That's a realistic possibility. If Rodgers went to the AFC West, he would be behind Patrick Mahomes. Mahomes is a better quarterback today than Rodgers. In my estimation, he'd be behind Justin Herbert, who I would take right now over Aaron Rodgers. I wouldn't have 10 years ago, but right now I'd take Justin Herbert over Aaron Rodgers. And again, not to beat this dead horse, but Russell Wilson's still considerably younger than Aaron Rodgers. He's 34. Rodgers is 38, 39. There's a possibility, and Joey, you're right. If Rodgers leaves the Packers, where his in-division competition is still Kirk Cousins, Justin Fields, and fucking, Jesus, I'm forgetting his name. The kid with Detroit. You see, Jared Goff. That's his quarterback competition in the NFC North right now. To go anywhere in the AFC, you put yourself in a real bad spot if you're looking to be MVP or looking to get to a Super Bowl. You've got Burrow. You've got Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, Patrick Mahomes. We've mentioned Justin Herbert. The AFC is loaded. I mean, loaded. Trevor Lawrence is on the ascend, and that's an AFC team. I don't know. I'm not about Rodgers. If he really wants to win a Super Bowl, I'm not about him leaving the Packers. So, Joey, I'm with you. There is part of me that says because of Rodgers' hubris, the fact that he doesn't want to be thought of like Brett Favre 100%, that his best move is actually just to stay put. Like, just stay put. Maybe the Packers don't want that because they're ready to turn the page and, go to a new future with Jordan Love, which is completely understandable. But I get you, man. I don't know if I'm Rodgers, if I want to go be the second, third best quarterback in a division in the AFC when I can still basically consider myself better than Kirk Cousins, Jared Goff, and Justin Fields.
I don't know if I'd ever want to play in the AFC West for Josh McDaniels in the fucking first place. He barely survived this second stint as a head coach and barely made it 1 year. So you're going to go out and possibly play for Josh McDaniels, who could get fired after his second year.
Right. You
have a horrible coach. I'm sorry, with Staley out in the Chargers, but you have a hell of a quarterback in Herbert. So I don't know. Aaron Rodgers is going, obviously, wherever he's going to go. I would love to. If he ends up going to the Raiders and Josh McDaniels loses his job, I'm going to laugh my ass off all the way to the bank.
Yeah, the Raiders would be one of those quintessential teams like that gets a big aging star.
Nathaniel Hackett in Denver losing his job after 1 year.
Yeah.
It comes down to coaching, is I guess what we're saying, because you brought up Russell Wilson. We'll see what Sean Payton can do. Whether Aaron Rodgers, if he does go to Las Vegas, does he want to be coached by Josh McDaniels? There's so many ifs, but I just don't see it. Well,
McDaniels is going to keep his job until at least the end of or the middle of the season if the Raiders maybe something to see. All right, Foreman says that the damn gummies actually did help his muscles loosen up. I think that's fantastic. I love that. Guys, I want you to stay tuned with us just for a few more minutes. We haven't covered one of the biggest sports stories of the weekend. I have to get to this. It's today's overtime.
Regulation time is up.
What the hell is a flux capacitor?
Engage overtime. Now. P.S. Soylent Green is people.
PPS. Corporate processed food is Soylent Green.
Oh, I love that. Overtime here on the Sports Carnival again, broadcasting live from the Trauma Center studios, powered by the Recovery Room. And thanks again to our good partners, Kyle Cable, One Trust Real Estate, the official real estate partner of the program. Also, a really smart sports bettor. Had Kyle on the show last week. We might get him back on this week too. If you're buying or selling a house, if you've got investment property that you need to see make the most money for you, you just need some real estate advice, talk to our guy, Kyle Cable at One Trust Real Estate. If you're talking law, you need to talk to Sean O'Neill, the O'Neill Law Firm, downtown La Crosse. I meant to call Sean on Friday. I've got something I need to work out with him. Sean, I will be reaching out to you today. The O'Neill Law Firm, bankruptcy, family, even criminal law is here for you in downtown La Crosse. Of course, our good friends, Tony and Brian over at Preferred Insurance, home, auto, flood, and even business insurance. Preferred Insurance is the official insurance provider of the Sports Carnival. Before we go this morning, guys and gals, and Matt, I know that you and I, we've talked a lot about this fucking fight with Jake Paul and Tommy Fury on our own because we're boxing fans. We love boxing. I think we love combat sports. This did hold some fascination for us because, listen, Jake Paul, for what it's worth, has been knocking out, cold out some of combat sports' biggest stars, not boxing's biggest stars, but combat sports' biggest stars, including Anderson Silva, Tyron Woodley, obviously Wisconsin native Ben Askren was amongst those guys that Jake Paul beat. Now, Jake Paul outweighed many of these guys by 25, 30 pounds. It wouldn't have exactly been a sanctionable fight in boxing. Well, something happened over the weekend in Saudi Arabia. Jake Paul fought an actual boxer. Now, Tommy Fury is not anywhere close to being what his brother Tyson Fury is, like not even close.
Not even the size.
But he is still a legitimate professional boxer, even if he's a club guy. Tommy Fury got a split decision win over Jake Paul. Did you see any of the highlights, or did you? Because I know that we were asked if we would buy this fight at the bar, and you said, no, we're not spending the money to buy this fight at the bar. But did you see any of the highlights? Because I did. It was a competitive fight, and Jake Paul did knock down Tommy Fury in the 8th and final round, but Fury gets the split decision victory. Jake Paul might be an internet sensation, but the kid can actually box a little bit. He really can.
Well, I did not get a chance to see it. Unfortunately, we can't get it at the bar because I have to get charged by my capacity, not on the $50 price.
Gotcha. You pay 133 plus
capacity.
People. Sure.
So that really doesn't work out for me. I guess my thing with this is I did more reading about it. I saw obviously the pregame, the setup, and the bet that actually didn't go through. So you're right on that. I guess this going forward is Fury is 23 years old. He's the most pure boxer he's ever seen. He's, I think, the first guy
that Jake Paul's ever seen.
That first box, and he's, I think, the first time that he's fought somebody younger than him.
Okay.
So that going forward alone, with that also being said, they're already set up for a second fight. So they both got paid, and they're just going to do it all over again.
So, well, this is working like it should, because that means that they've done, like, at least Jake Paul, he's done his job.
Yeah, they did their job. They got paid. Supposedly, obviously, I read this, and I'm not sure if it's true. The Saudis don't like women, and I guess they don't like betting either. So there was that pre-bet before the fight, and supposedly the Saudi government heard about that, and they almost got arrested. Whether that's true or not, obviously, it wasn't going to happen no matter what, because there's too much money on the line. But because they did their wager before the fight, they got a little trouble with Saudi government.
Interesting. Well, we sure know they like to fly planes, so at least they've got that for themselves. Fucking assholes. All right, Foreman is going to end up with our final comment of the day and says it was actually a real-looking boxing match. It was. I thought that it was a real-looking boxing match, and I watched most of this fight on YouTube. Again, that's one thing that's great about YouTube. some of the stuff that you don't want to spend the money on in real time, you find easily up on YouTube, which I was happy to see much of this fight, at least, from my perspective, I was happy to see much of this fight. All right, guys and gals, we're running out of time. Again, want to make a mention, the recovery room. Matt, we're opening up at 4 today. I'm going to be on for bingo this evening, 7 o'clock. All right, so come on down, see us. We're getting bigger and bigger each and every week. The prizes, they also get bigger and bigger. We're coming up on the end of the month. Is tonight our big end of the month bingo giveaway too?
Tonight is, everything's kind of, so tonight's the big winner. So,
Wow. All right, well, come and see us starting at 7. P12 Foreman says he's out of the hospital, but he's not going to be in attendance. That's probably a smart thing for him, and you got to rest up. We'll see you over there, 7 o'clock tonight at the recovery room for bingo. If not, we'll see you back here bright and early tomorrow morning on the Sports Carnival. Matt Janis, UWL football head coach, will be joining us. You guys have a great day, and stay dry out there.